Congratulations to Australia winning the series 3-1, but the scoreline is not a true reflection of how close the series actually was. Both teams played exceptional cricket, but there's a few talking points in the final test match, and that is Bumrah's injury. Should there be a rule change there? Rohit Sharma, Kohli, how long is their test career going to go on for? Constas still getting under the skin of the Indian players. I want to have a chat about Beau Webster and Boland as well, and also comment on some of the comments made by commentators about South Africa getting in the World Test Championship final. A little bit of disrespect there, so we'll wait till the back end for those comments. Bumrah's injury was the defining factor in this test match. First innings, he's bowling extremely well. Australia 7 down, and then all of a sudden he's got some back spasms, has to go off and get them checked out. Well done to Krishna and Siraj cleaning up Australia in that first innings, allowing India to bat with a little bit of a lead as they start that second innings. But Bumrah's injury highlights an issue that I've brought up before. We have got the concussion rule where a batsman or a bowler for that matter is concussed. They can be replaced by a like player, and that player can come on and participate in the game like replacing the player before. So if a bowler comes on, he can bowl the overs of that particular bowler. If a batsman comes in, he can continue batting. But I think this rule should be for all injuries. Fast bowlers are a precious commodity. Fast bowlers are the item that you want in all formats of the game. You want fast bowlers, especially playing test matches. But the game's changed over the last decade and a half. All of a sudden, you've got the T20 competition coming in. So fast bowlers are not only just playing test cricket and one-day cricket, which are fairly similar because in one-day cricket, you're bowling 10 overs as a fast bowler anyway. But then you go to T20 cricket where it's fast and explosive and you only bowl 4 overs. So the change in workload puts extra pressure on fast bowlers. So if there's a slight injury to a player through a game, doesn't matter what format it is, another player should be able to come on and continue the role of that particular player. I'm not just saying it because of Bumrah, I'm saying it because of Hazlewood as well. Hazlewood was injured in 2 test matches through that series. And if you're in a series and you use that injury rule, that particular player that has been replaced due to injury can't participate in a game for the next 7 days of cricket. So then we don't have players and teams using it for poor decisions out the toss of the coin where they've picked the wrong 11 and they think, right, we can use an injury here to get a player better suited to this wicket in the 11 to change the momentum of the game. So we've got to be careful with it. But I think the replacement rule should be for all injuries. I like your comments downstairs with that particular issue. I just want to go on to Constas as well. First innings there, it's the last over of the day. India are trying to get 4 overs in. They only got 3 overs in. Khawaja's taking his time. Bumrah's having a chat to the umpire from the end of his bowling mark, and Constas decides to have a chat. Bumrah gets Khawaja out in the last ball, and all the Indian players virtually go and confront Constas and telling him, well, your comments cost that wicket. Now, for me, the coach coming out and saying that the Indian players were intimidating Constas and there's a mental health issue there, I think that's taking it a little bit too far. If you want to say a few words to the opposition team, you want to hit balls for 4, walk down and give the bowler a serve while he's walking back to the mark, well, you're going to have to sit there and cop it on the way back as well. So for me, the coach shouldn't be talking about the Indian intimidation. The coach should be talking to his player about how he is going to handle the retaliation from the opposition team rather than defending him as such. Because you want to give it out, you've got to take it back as well. Also, let's chat about Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli. How long have they got in the game of Test match cricket? I think Rohit Sharma is just about the end of his tether. He's nearly 38 years of age. He didn't play in this last test match, and I thought that was a great decision of his. He hasn't got a great record in Australia. He knew that he was out of form, and the best thing for India to win the test series was for them to have Gill batting instead of himself. He's been getting bowled in LB quite a lot over the last 10 innings, and that's not a good sign for an opening batter. So he's done the right thing there. Plus, you can't have two senior batsmen in your top six that are struggling. He and Virat Kohli were. Now, if I'm looking at Virat Kohli's longevity in the Test arena, I think he's still got 2 more years at least. He's fit, he's still a live wire, he's looked after himself, he's probably still got another year or 2 in him. But I think Rohit Sharma, I think we might see a retirement earlier than later, allowing India to blood another youngster, strengthening that batting lineup. So that's how I see it. I just want to make a compliment on Boland. Now, Boland is an exceptional bowler, hard to get away, on a good length, and I think he might have been the difference in this particular series, especially in the last 2 test matches. He really took the pressure off the likes of Stark and Cummins. He kept it nice and tight and was able to bowl those long spells where Cummins could rely on him to keep it nice and tight, but also get those wickets. You just have to keep it nice and simple. Hit a good length, nip it both ways, and that's just enough to upset any batting lineup. So well done to Scott Boland. I also want to talk about Beau Webster. Tour player, all-rounder, has to come into this particular lineup because Mitchell Marsh wasn't performing, and he stood up admirably, making 57 in that first innings and then hitting the winning runs in the second innings. I think this kid's got a long future. He can bowl some medium pace as well, but I think he's going to play a big part in Australia's next series over in Sri Lanka, where he can bowl some right arm off spin as well. He can bowl some quality right arm off spin. I've seen him do it in the nets, seen him do it in the games, and he can really play a part over there in Sri Lanka. I think he's got longevity out the Test arena. Now, we had a wicket out as SCG which had a green tinge on it. I think it was important that we had a sporting wicket in this final Test match. It gave India a sporting chance as well. They've got a quality bowling attack. Their batters are starting to handle those type of conditions. Both teams are playing differently on these conditions. They know as a batting unit that there's a ball that's always got their number on it. So they're playing a little bit more aggressive cricket. They're taking the bowling on. If they get away with it, luck's on their side, they're able to score quickly, put runs on the board, and that's what you have to do in these conditions. And for me, I think both teams handled the conditions very extremely well. There is a comment there I heard about Gill. Remember, Webster made 57, Pant made a blistering 61 in India's second innings, but Gill got out with a lusty blow charging Webster early on in his spell, getting caught behind. Well, Gill had to do that. He had to take the bowling on. If he got Webster away early, then all of a sudden Cummins would have had to bring himself or Boland on, or go back to Stark, who wasn't bowling that well in that second innings, to put pressure on that bowling attack and try and wear them down. And if Gill was able to go with Pant and put quick runs on the board, all of a sudden Australia are under pressure, but it didn't come off. And sometimes you've got to make those decisions which are a little riskier because of the context of the game. I'd rather a player going hard out the ball and be decisive on the shot that he's playing, even if it's the wrong shot to play, than second guessing themselves and being half-hearted out the shot. So for me, Gill was unlucky to get out there, but he had to take on the bowling out that stage. Now, the South African scenario. Few commentators have come out and said, well, they've had an easy run to get to where they are now. Well, they might have had an easy run, but they've still had to win a number of games on the trot to be able to get to the top of the ladder where they are now. But the other thing with South Africa too, they've had a lot of issues with their cricket over so many years. They've got the quota system there with politics coming into play, which has really made big improvements in the game in South Africa in so many demographics. The other thing is they're trying to find ways to raise more money for the game over in South Africa to keep it sustainable. They don't have the luxury of Australia, England and India, who get most of the pie. So they've had to make other decisions as well. So for me, with all that, the politics, the way that they have to change their calendar and different formats of the game to create other revenue streams has been exceptional. And for me, the way that they've all handled that, put a good bunch of cricketers together, a great 11, and survive out that test arena. And it's important that South Africa survive out that test arena because they've got some quality players for the longer format. I think it's exceptional. And I think instead of showing disrespect, I think we should encourage and congratulate them on a wonderful job for turning things around, because we all thought South Africa were falling away in the test arena. Great job by both coach, captain and players over there in South Africa. Now, what are your thoughts? Get them downstairs. Love to hear what you've got to say.